Okay, I'd like to call to order the December 7th Board of Public Works and Utilities meeting. Start with roll call. Mayor Kim Smith. I'd like to call to order the December 7th Board of Public Works and Utilities meeting. Start with roll call.
Do you open up YouTube? They go to this one.
It'll come clear in a minute.
Don't go.
Good. Sorry about that.
Okay, once again, we got technical difficulty resolved, so it's now 6:31. The meeting is called to order, and I'll start with the roll call. Mayor Kim Smith.
Here.
Jim Olson.
Here.
Jared Holter.
Here.
Sabrina Steger.
Here.
And I am Stephen Knott, and I am also present. I'd also like to recognize that in the room, we do have Alders Diane Wolf and Dan Stevens present as well. Anyone else online? Still no?
Burmaster is on.
And Carrie Burmaster is also listening in. Okay. This time I'd like to move on to.
When your workouts are joy, it's a joy to work out. The original Peloton bike with our best price ever, $39 a month, or access memberships.
Hello, the Discover card here to display our cashback. We match all of the cashback you earn every year on the minimum. It's that simple. Discover, accept,
No, this is new.
This is festive at least.
Illegal government endorsements of products.
We're trying to be festive. It is Christmas.
All right, item number 2, consideration action on minutes from the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Smith, seconded by Alder Olson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. This time we'll open up for public input. You'll be limited to 3 minutes for anyone who'd like to speak. If you would like to speak, please come forward to the microphone and identify your name and your address. First call for public input. Second call. Oh, we have one, sorry.
I don't know if I can be as funny as what. My name is Joanne Wickheiser and I live at 1024 Oak Avenue North on Alaska. And I'm here on behalf of area pickleball players who play at Oak Park. And that's, as you know, one of the most utilized parks in Alaska. Several of those players are here tonight. And we again want to express our appreciation to the city for the pickleball courts at Oak Park. They provided all of us thousands of hours of exercise, recreation, and probably most importantly, fun. And so we appreciate having those here for the last 6 years. But as has been indicated in previous meetings, there needs to be some maintenance, some repairs and improvements in order to keep them safe and improve playing conditions. Area pickleball players, we were also grateful that this project's been recommended for inclusion in the 2022 budget. We support those improvements and we'll continue our efforts to do our part to keep the courts in good condition. We've always tried to be respectful of the neighbors nearby, and we delay our starting times and try not to park on the street at all, take good care of the park in general. And we'll continue to do that no matter what. So I, along with all the other players who make use of those courts at Oak Park, urge you to recommend this project for approval at next week's city council meeting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public input? Second call. Anyone online that's dialed in? No. Third and final call. Public input is closed. We'll move on to item number 4, which is the public hearing for the capital improvement projects that are recommended. The way we're going to do this is we'll open it up for the public hearing. And then if there are recommended changes, we'll discuss. We'll close out the public hearing, we'll discuss. And if changes are made, then we'll open up public hearing one final time and then go in and close out. So at this time, I'll open up for public input. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of any items?
Good evening, Diane Wolf, 910 Orchid Place in Onalaska, also second district alder. I would ask that this board respectfully consider adding back in item number 66 on your capital improvement list under library, paint the north and south ends of the building. The amount that is listed currently is $20,000. I did a little bit of research. The approximately $2 million addition was added to the library 2008, 2009. When I looked at the list, the handout that Chris Picardo Rojo has provided to the city on a monthly basis, if you look at the 5 libraries, Bangor, Campbell, Holman, Onalaska, and West Salem, very clearly the Onalaska branch gets overwhelmingly the majority of the visits. Imagine having your home with thousands and thousands of people attending, coming into your home every month and not painting it for the last 13, 14 years. The $20,000 represents less than 1/2 of 1% of the capital improvement budget. Former Mayor Joe Chilson used to remark every month when he used to, under mayoral report, he used to talk about the statistics of the library. And he used to mention how he found it to be a gem of Onalaska. I personally have toured the library. I think the gem is getting a little tarnished, and I think $20,000 to throw at it to paint it would shine that gem up a little bit again. Brian Babish was good enough to go ahead and take some pictures. I forwarded them on to Jared. And when you go ahead and start after public input, if you get to that item and you want to discuss it, Jared does have pictures for you to go ahead, put up on the screen. So thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of any line items? Anyone who would like to speak? Oh, you coming up, Dan? No. Anyone who would like to speak opposed to any of the recommended changes or budget items? Okay, public hearing on that is now closed. Consideration, possible recommendation, possible action in regards to the 2022 capital improvements projects. What is the recommendation of the committee? Yes, Jared.
So I do have some pictures of the painting at the library that Alder Wolf had forwarded to me. So these are really hard to see on the screen. They probably don't do it justice by any means. I think here there's a couple of marks in the wall here. And if Brian has any further information on this, he may be better to come up and actually describe some of these or whatever. But here's a couple. I think these are closer pictures of those defects in the wall. And as to the here, yeah.
That picture there, it actually doesn't show up very well on the picture is the bottom 2 feet of the wall is starting to definitely get more discolored. It has a brown tint to it. And it really didn't show up on the picture like I was hoping it would. I tried to take a couple of different angles of that to kind of give you that effect of what was going on, especially on the caramel colored walls.
Oh, yeah, you can see it there.
So once again, this is, you can kind of see the darkening and then a defect in the wall.
So my view on this, I guess, 2 parts. First off, yeah, Dan, I understand the less than 0.5% of the total budget, but we have a potential of going down a rabbit hole here of there's literally dozens of projects on this list that have been eliminated to get to where we are on the budget. They're in the $10,000, $20,000 and $30,000 range. And if we start going down that path full steam in very short order, we're going to be really blowing this budget out. Now, that said, I certainly think there's room for $20,000 personally. Yes, Mayor,
I was just thinking we should get a motion on the floor before we.
before we start discussion. Okay, well,
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
okay, go ahead.
I move that we approve the 2022 capital improvements project as presented in our packet with the addition of adding back in item number 66, paint the north and south ends of the building for a total of $20,000.
And I will second. So motion made by Mayor Smith, seconded by myself to approve the budget as is, but amended with an additional $20,000 for line item 66, painting of the north and south ends of the library. Any further discussion? Mayor?
Under discussion, I think we need to ask Sabrina or Eric should comment on this.
Yeah, sure.
Just one point of clarification, adding it on there, it should be coming out of the less ARPA funding used column versus the amount needed by borrowing. It would not qualify for our debt issuance.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yes, Jared.
So we have another item that actually has recently come to light. I'm going to enlist Brian's help, assistance again here, but in the monthly trials of the city hall, well, if we approve it, then the whole budget's approved.
Well, I could open it up for public hearing before we have a vote, I think, too. So just the recommended change.
Well, we can still be having discussion
Of course, yeah.
and we could have an amendment if
Sure.
we decide
What
to
is it?
go along with.
What is it you want to bring up?
Well, we're trying to look at the generator at City Hall, and we have some information on recent events with the generator at City Hall that may affect the budget. So do you want to have a motion on the floor before we go forward?
I think,
Was there a second on the motion?
Yeah,
It was.
Steven seconded.
All right, then it's available for discussion, yes.
I think we can talk about it under discussion.
I would like to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to pass anything until we open up public hearing again, since we're making, recommending a change.
We're still discussing.
I know, yeah, so I'd like to hear it, yeah.
So during the monthly generator tests, 2 weeks ago or so, it was found that the transfer switch for the existing City Hall generator froze up and would not transfer the power. With that, Brian solicited the assistance of an electrician and found that the transfer switches that we have on our existing generator have failed. He solicited a quote for replacement of that transfer switch, and that transfer switch replacement is going to be $15,000 for a budget number. So currently our existing generator is not able to be used if we have an emergency. It would have to be direct wired in by an electrician on site. So what I'm looking at, or what I would recommend, is either we add a project for replacing the transfer switch or finding a funding source, another funding source, or look at the generator we had in here. We had discussions of adding the generator, a new generator for City Hall to replace the existing one, which would include the transfer switch. But I greatly get that those are two very widely different projects, replacing the existing transfer switch versus putting in a new generator.
Yeah, so the $15,000 would not come from this year? I mean, you wouldn't need to do this like now?
If we,
If you go with a repair?
if we went with the repair, I guess I'd refer to Sabrina for the finance part of it. We could, obviously, the faster we get, this is a need, not a want in my mind, because the generator is not usable right now without having an electrician on site. So I bring it up in the fact that also, if we invest in this repair, which needs to be done, if we replace it with the generator in the capital improvements budget in a future year, now that repair will be not, it's not going to offer any value. So it's going to be a short-term fix. Right.
As for the $15,000, we definitely have room in the budget for the current year to do that. I would bring it to council next week to get approved,
Okay,
since it wasn't budgeted for in the current year.
okay. No, I guess my view is that we go ahead and go with the short-term fix and spend it out of this year's budget, since we have the funds remaining to do so. And we know that that is going to be moving up on priority when we consider what we're going to fund on capital improvements next year. I mean, we've had a lot of discussion here. I can't guarantee, what the recommendation would be or how we would vote, but I mean, we've in discussion, several of us have mentioned that needs to really move to the fore here in the new future. Difficulty would be is if we add in replacing the generator with the 2022 capital improvements budget. That's blowing up our budget from, assuming the library will be included, from 2.8 million and a little bit of change up to 3.3 million and a little bit of change. It's a significant difference. And it's almost like, in my view, it would almost have us do a complete relook, because we probably have to look at potentially eliminating projects that we currently have on the recommended approved list in order to offset some of that, is my concern. Mayor.
Wondering if you did any updated price quotes and investigated what, is the cost as we have presented and we've talked about earlier, or is the cost a little more updated and refined from that previous number?
We actually had an engineering study done this summer to look at what the needs would be for the generator at City Hall. And with that, we have not looked at that price, but there was a contingency in there. And I would guess that with the way the material and equipment prices are running right now, that it's going to be right on what they had estimated. It's going to end up using up the contingency that's in there. So I wouldn't feel comfortable lowering the number than what was done back in June. But with that, also, just as a side note, that generator would power all of City Hall, but it was to only power half of City Hall. It was only a $75,000 deduction. So
Right.
if you're going to invest in a generator for City Hall, my recommendation is you do the entire size generator. But
I was just trying to verify if that $435,000 number was the right number that I was looking at. Thank you.
so with that, staff will take direction that we'll take this back to the council meeting. Then we'll work with the finance director on getting that to the council meeting.
All right, yeah, I don't think that requires a motion here because it's not part of the capital improvement. Yes.
Did staff have a recommendation?
I guess I look at it that the cost differential is very extreme, that we need the generator. As was stated, we wouldn't have the generator until the lead time on a generator is going to be at least 6 months, probably closer to 9 with our current market conditions. So either way, we probably got to get the transfer switch fixed in the
Mayor?
short term. So
Did you investigate renting a generator?
that's getting to be too large a generator to really rent. It'd be very hard pressed to find one to rent. with that size.
Yeah, Dan, can you come up to the speaker? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Dan Stevens, Second District Alder. Kind of curious, and it's maybe fortuitous that the price is exactly the same. And I would wonder if Jared would have any thoughts on if we could hold off on item number 7, which is $435,000. It's exactly the same price as the price for the new generator. I'm not making an endorsement for or against, but that
Yeah.
if we could hold off, and it's a 2.3 Pacers, so I would understand why not. But if the priority is, we need to have power in case of emergency, would it be worthwhile to sacrifice that this year and then move item 7 into next year and then do the EOC full replacement now? And then my follow-up question is, if we were able to get a switch replacement, how long would we be able to milk that generator before we would have to replace that? So that's all I have. Thank you.
Jared, go ahead.
I would feel uncomfortable taking out any street paving. That's the only street paving that we really have in the capital improvements budget. And the fact that we really lowered our amount of street paving last year due to the fact that we performed the Greens Coulee roundabout project. We kind of invested our street paving money in getting that accomplished, and it's been a good project and it was well received. It was a good decision in my mind. But if we keep non-prioritizing our streets, we will see the difference in years to come. So not to say our streets aren't in good shape right now, and it's always a decision on what's the priority.
Yeah.
I think the generator, the length of time for the generator, I think the generator itself is in, as far as we know, Brian, in fairly decent shape. It's been maintained. It's still running, so we don't have any imminent failure of the generator that we know of, our existing generator.
Thank you. I guess without speaking specifically to the validity of this particular project, it did come up in our conversation at the last meeting regarding Moody's and the rating. Keep in mind that we are at a point where we're still at near historic lows on interest rates. They've gone up now, obviously. I would anticipate them to continue to rise now in the future. We can't stay historically low forever, or it won't be historic. It'll be a pattern. So I'd imagine that we're going to be increasing interest rates over time. But likewise, as we're seeing with the inflationary pressures, the costs of goods and services will also likely increase. So the costs of things that are not on our list will also increase over time, as well as the interest rates for borrowing for those items over time. Well, we've narrowed down substantially this year, and we moved almost $8 million from this year to next year. Keep in mind, we already had $8 million on next year's projects. So the hill that we're climbing next year is going to be substantial. I mentioned that. So if we are looking at big investments that have been cut out and do need to perhaps enter in the picture again in a year from now or 2 years from now, rates will likely be higher and interest rates and the cost will likely be higher. There's an environment right now where obviously we're very concerned about our ability to borrow and the Moody's rating. 2 years ago, we exceeded by 1.2 million our usual borrowing amount for the fire truck. In our reviews with Moody's, of course, the reason why we're borrowing more that particular year came up. We answered the question is for a one-time item, it is for a capital item, a vehicle for the fire department, and it's once every 20 years that we make the purchase. We can discuss that perhaps another 30 seconds to a minute, and it went away. I mean, they put a comment in there about the amount exceeding our usual borrowing amount is for that particular purpose, and did not impact our rate at all. Last year, then, we did borrow about 4.6 million, which is also generally higher than we have been in past. About 4.3 to 4.5 is where we've been. But because it was less than the year before, no questions were asked. This year, we're going to be substantially under that amount. About 2.9 is where we are right now from borrowing. And it'll be notable, and we'll have that conversation with Moody's about that. My concern is then if the next year to catch up on, the 10 million that we've have set aside plus the 7-8 million that we've pushed forward, if we need to increase the borrowing to what was formerly our usual amount, it will look like we're increasing our amount we're borrowing next year. So it's something to consider that by use of ARPA funds, we're able to reduce the total amount that we're borrowing by not borrowing from the state trust funds. It may come back and haunt us when we look at future borrowing for Moody's long-term debt when it comes to rating. Just to go back to our usual amounts may look like a correction that we'll have to do some explaining to.
My concern on overall is adding this in without offsetting it. In discussions we had with the general funds and also here over the last several months of this board is trying to get into a different posture because our spending did increase pretty substantially over the last couple of years and trying to get that corrected. But also we have a plan with the state trust funds for the short-term borrowing to get that down to near zero in just a couple of years. And then that savings actually would be available for us to be able to use instead of paying off the short-term funds. If we add this in, it's going to blow that up. I mean, this is a substantial dollar item. On my initial proposals had this approved, my recommendation from personally on what I would like to have seen approved, but stopped fighting for it when I saw where we were going with additional projects. I feel very uncomfortable. I understand everything you're saying, Eric, about the lower interest rates and what have you, but boy, I just don't want to go back up to that 3.3 again. That's a substantial difference. So I don't know. What are the thoughts on the other board members here?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that at council.
Yeah.
I'm okay with proceeding as we have it right now.
Yeah, with paying with current year funds to go and get it fixed. Yeah. Okay. I don't think there's a motion that's necessary for that. It'll probably just come up to common council next week since it's this current year. All right. So again, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion on items? Okay, I think before we vote, I'd like to go open up the public hearing again, see if there's any public input on the change proposal or any other item for that matter too, but especially on the additional $20,000 with the library. Anyone who would like to speak in support of that with the public hearing? And would like to speak opposed? Okay, public hearing is again closed. We have a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We have a recommended budget going forward to the common council. All right. Number 5, sanitary sewer charges for Terlingua Heights. Jared.
We have been, this is a carryover from the previous meeting for the sanitary sewer charges at Terlingua Heights. As we discussed last month, that mobile home park manufactured home community has been having leakage in their water system before it is actually used by their customers. The owner was requesting a deduct of the sanitary sewer charges based upon that loss of water. We did have our city staff test 2 of their meters and they were within industry standards. So we are moving forward with a agreement. We still do not have that agreement completed yet. So what I would recommend would be to bring that agreement forward next month for possible review. It's taken us a little longer to get the meter testing done and we actually wanted to test 2 meters instead of 1. So we asked for another meter. So we're a little bit behind on this. But I would recommend that we would table this until a January meeting and then I'll bring it forward, have the agreement in the packet for your possible approval or denial and review, and we can discuss it then.
Okay. Any questions of Jared? All right. Item number 6, East Avenue Mini Roundabout Project right of way plat, relocation order and acquisition capability statement. Jared.
This project is moving forward with right-of-way acquisition. In your packet tonight, I do have the authorization letter from the DOT to start real estate acquisition. Also in the packet tonight, I'm requesting approval of the acquisition capability statement, the right-of-way plat, and the relocation order for this project.
I move that we approve the right-of-way plot, the relocation order, and the acquisition capabilities statement as described.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Smith, seconded by Jim Olson to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. What did I miss?
Jared and I can't
It just-
quite see
The Christmas decorations get this time of year.
through the greenery. So as we're talking, we're both just kind of trying to follow.
I thought maybe I missed somebody's hand up. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, item number 7, change order number 3 for Green Coulee Reservoir Project. Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight is the proposed change order number 3 for the Green Coulee Reservoir project. This does have 3 items. The first item is additional grading material to widen out the access road to the reservoir for $4,090. This is at the very top of the hill where the reservoir is at. It's a pretty sharp curve going into that area. And we found that once they actually got constructing it and trying to get equipment into that area, it was needed to make it easier for that equipment to get in, and it just ended up being graded so it fit better to the slopes that were there. Item B is grade existing park trail, remove some ruts. We did some work on the trail going up the hill. That was at a cost of $647. This was just opportunistic because we had the proper equipment there that we could really do some work to help the park out, actually better the park by having the reservoir there. We also put additional breaker on gravel at Quarry Lane for $744. So this change order is a net increase of $55,481 as what we're requesting tonight. The project has been completed. It is in service. So this will be the final change order for this project. It'll actually be finalized out in the estimates that you have given to you tonight. Mayor.
First of all, I'll make a motion to approve change order number 3 for the Greens Coulee Reservoir project in the total amount of $5,481.
Second.
All right, a motion made by Mayor Kim Smith to approve, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? Mayor.
I have a question for Jared. So looking at the total cost, how did that compare to our estimate if the project is complete now?
Correct. So we had the original contract price of $847,000. We actually left $100,000 in contingency, but we were anticipating a possible initial change order of over $50,000 to put a coating on the roof that the DNR was requiring us to put in, and that came significantly lower. That came in at $30,000. I think it was about $30,000. So in reality, we've only had about a little under $9,000 of the change orders that we did not anticipate. And we did not have enough in the contingency in the project budget to cover these expenses.
The total increase from the original contract price to what is going to close out when he does this change order and finishes the project is 4.6% increase.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8, change order number 1 for 2021 fiber optic project. Jared.
Thank you. We have 2 items in this change order. The first is installation of test stations for $630 for testing of the fiber. The second item is additional splice enclosures and splicing for $4,692. During the project, it was found for constructability and future connection to the system that 4 additional splice enclosures were needed, and they're going to actually splice an additional 32 strands of fiber. These were located at Riders Club Road, Northern Hills, the Great River Landing, and the Park and Rec Shop. So we are requesting the change order be approved in the amount of
5322.
Yeah, just gotta get to the right page here. Yeah, $5,322. This was in the original scope of services to have, or the original budget to have a contingency. This will be covered by the project amounts budgeted.
Entertain a motion.
Thank you for that, Chair. And I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve change order number 1 for the 2021 fiber optic project. And the change order amount is $5,322.
Second.
Motion made by Mayor Kim Smith to approve, seconded by Jim Olson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9 are pay estimates. You should have an updated pay estimate in front of you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the pay estimates on the summary sheet dated December 3rd, 2021. There are 16 items listed and I'll move to approve.
We have 19 on the sheet I handed out.
Oh, I must have not looked at it.
Yep, we had,
Oh, I didn't see the next, okay. There's 16 on the first 2 pages, but if you include the 3rd page, there's 19. So please correct that to be 19 items. I'm
Your motion is for the all 19 items.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, I'll second. Okay, so motion made by Mayor Kim Smith to approve the 19 items on the December 3rd Public Works Monthly Estimates, seconded by myself. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We now move on to the utilities. There is no report. And then item number 11 is adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn at 7:07.
We have a motion from Jim Olson to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sabrina. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes and it is 7:07. And we are adjourned. Thank you.